Hi again, it's Melissa, licensed clinical social worker and mental health therapist for individuals and couples, coming to you just to talk a little bit about how to incorporate plants in professional spaces. Whether you are an administrator or office manager looking to incorporate plants into common spaces, waiting areas, lobbies, etc., or if you just want to incorporate plants into your personal professional spaces like offices and cubicles, this video is for you. So let's go ahead and get started. So why would you even consider incorporating plants into your professional space? Well, one reason is that they just offer aesthetic beauty and interest and warmth and tranquility to a workspace, which is good for both you as an employee and a worker and also to your patients, clients, customers, etc. Plants also do things like purify toxins in the air and add oxygen to a space, which can increase mental focus and clarity and therefore productivity. Finally, plants overall can do a lot to promote mental and emotional health and wellness, which, under the stressors of a high workload or fast paced environment, can be really helpful to keep us grounded and stress and anxiety free while we're in our workplaces. So, the first thing you want to keep in mind when considering adding plants to your professional space is the space itself. You want to add enough plants and greenery that it creates interest and aesthetic beauty and pleasure in your space, but doesn't create overcrowding or clutter or busyness that can actually detract from a sense of peace and calm and productivity. So, one of the ways that you can do that is to add plants that can sit on the floor in a larger pot or in a plant stand. You can also consider shelves, so you can add interest on the walls above the floor, and also just adding potted plants to your desk or side tables, or even adding plants to your windowsill. Those are all ways that you can incorporate plants into your professional space without them detracting from the usefulness of that space. Of course, if you're adding plants to a common area or shared space, it's important to make sure that the plants also don't distract from or clutter the productivity or usefulness of that space, but just that they add a sense of interest, pleasure, warmth, etc. You also want to make sure that you are adding plants that can take a little bit of neglect. So obviously we are often out of our offices on the weekends. Some of us work remotely and may not be in the office regularly, or we take vacations and our plants would be in our professional spaces for stretches of time where we can't give them care or attention. So it's important to consider plants that are hardy, meaning that they can tolerate lower light levels or lower levels of watering, so that a little bit of neglect won't cause your plants to fail or die. You also want to make sure that you are avoiding including plants in your professional space that have high financial or emotional value. The reason for that is that, as we just talked about, our plants in our professional spaces often need to endure some level of neglect, and you don't want to experience huge discouragement or distress if your plants begin to suffer under a little bit of that neglect. Also, if you are in a professional space that works with the public, it's possible that the plants may endure some level of touching or tearing, or a leaf being torn, or a stem being broken, just from being around people and other people touching and enjoying your plants. And lots of times, plants in professional spaces, folks feel free to take cuttings and that sort of thing, so you don't want to feel distress or feel or upset or frustration if people do that. And then also, lots of the time, there are cleaning crews that come into our professional spaces when we're out of the office, and you don't want to have plants there that the cleaning crew may accidentally knock over or break or cause damage to. You want to be able to feel okay if the plants experience that level of damage in a way that you can't control. So that's another consideration when incorporating plants into your professional space. You also want to avoid incorporating plants that are toxic or are allergy irritants, so that you yourself are not dealing with the negative consequences of those issues and you're not exposing your clients or customers or patients to plants that could cause them physical distress as well. It's also important to remember to incorporate pest control into the maintenance of your in-office or professional space plants, mostly because that's just good plant care, but also pests can end up being disruptive to the work that you're doing with either by yourself independently or with your clients, customers, or patients. And they can also just affect negatively the health of your plant. So that's an important consideration as well. Whether you choose to use systemic granules or pesticidal sprays or other forms of pest control, just make sure you're incorporating that into the care of your professional space plants. Finally, when you're considering incorporating plants into your office, cubicle, or shared space in a professional place, you want to make sure you're choosing plants that offer a variety of leaf shape, color, size, texture. A variety in general is just going to maximize the aesthetic pleasure of and beauty of the plants in your professional space. And you also want to consider potentially getting nice cover pots that can match the decor and aesthetic of your space, making sure that you have drip trays to capture any excess water from watering so that you don't damage your professional space, and using things like plant stands, shelves, etc. that work with your decor so that the plants seamlessly integrate into that professional space and optimize and maximize the pleasure that you'll get from your plants. I hope this video is helpful in understanding the considerations you need to have when incorporating plants into professional spaces, and gives you access to another way in which to enjoy plants, not only at home or in your garden, but also at work. Thanks so much, and we'll talk soon.